That's the announcements. Okay, welcome everybody to the town board meeting of Tuesday, May 14, 2019. Start off with some announcements. Ivy, it's just announcements. It's okay. So announcements. Pout Pout Fish musical production. I assume I'm pronouncing that correctly. Swim along with Pouty Mr. Fish and his friends in this new musical adventure, utilizing live actors and puppets. This colorful adaptation of the New York Times bestseller is sure to turn the poutiest of frowns upside down. So, okay, it's Saturday, May 25th from 11 to 2. Hello, Serena. At Chapel Performing Arts Center. And there's two showings, one at 11 a.m. and one at 2 p.m. The Newcastle Road Race this Sunday. We have a 5K and a 10K. The race starts at 8:30. And there's also 1 mile fun run for the kids. So pre-register now, and you can also register at the race, but it's definitely better to do it in advance. Our Memorial Day Parade is right around the corner, Monday, May 27th. We assemble at 10:30 at the Victory Corners with the traditional laying of the wreath, and then kick off the parade at 11 o'clock. Thank a First Responder Day. The Chapel Girl Scouts will be hosting the town's 6th annual Thank a Volunteer First Responder Day on Tuesday, May 28th from 6:30 to 8:30. And others are free to join to visit the firehouses and the ambulance and thank a volunteer. Art Around Town is Thursday, May 30th from 5 to 8 p.m. That's the opening night. Okay, so on to my supervisor report. This is National Police Week. In 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation declaring May 15th Peace Officers Memorial Day, and this week has come to be known as National Police Week. Every day, our officers here in Newcastle put their lives on the line to protect us. They deserve our thanks and support every week, but especially this week. If you see them, please thank them for everything they do to keep our community safe. And we'll be honoring many officers tomorrow with a ceremony right here at 2 p.m. The Newcastle Town Board would like to acknowledge the 10-year anniversary of the Ossining Volunteer Ambulance Corps, OVAC, with our partnership with the town of Newcastle. OVAC provides basic and advanced life support for the 685 Newcastle residents. This also marks the 10-year anniversary of the appointment of Dr. Robert Seebacher as a member of the OVAC Advisory Board representing Newcastle. On behalf of the town of Newcastle, and especially those residents covered by OVAC, thank you. Okay, downtown Chapel, try to move this along. Basically, we do a night work now, and look, Ray's listening to me.
Are we on?
No, not yet, sorry. It's just nice to see somebody listening. Not yet. So, we started night work, and, he wasn't listening. So, so basically, they're ripping up the sidewalk in front of Susan Lawrence and Lower King, and then they'll be installing the new sidewalks during the day. And also, speaking of downtown Chappaqua, we will be scheduling, I think tonight, the public hearing, right, to extend the moratorium. We'll be setting the public hearing for, what we'll be doing it later, for May 28th. It was a 6-month moratorium, and we're going to set the public hearing to extend it for another 6 weeks as we continue to work on our zoning RFP. And let's see, Chapel Crossing, in my supervisor report, I will have the schedule of the work on 117. It has been delayed. Just like we've encountered conflicts, underground conflicts with Con Ed, so have they. And that work is delayed, but they're still moving ahead, slowly but surely. Don't call me Shirley. And what else? We submitted a permit to install a rectangular rapid flashing beacon on 133 by the North County Trailway, so that'd be great once we get those installed, hopefully within the next couple of months. And tonight we're also going to be setting a public hearing for our leaf blower environmental protection law. That public hearing will be scheduled for June 11th. And I also have some updates on our affordable housing projects in Newcastle, my supervisor report. And we got 2 responses to the RP for the multi-use trail, also known as a chap line. And that's pretty it. Welcome Blind Dog Books, located at 201 King Street. Blind Dog Book sells used and antiquarian
That's
Should
correct.
Is that good? Close enough?
You got the approval.
He's my neighbor.
That could have been a rough one. As well as Prince, and small, we'll just skip that one, and small library at a desk app such as bookends and more.
I can't blame it, that's tough.
Yeah, exactly. And that'll be it for my supervisor's report. On to the administrator's report with Jill Shapiro.
Jill, before you start, can I just ask a clarifying question with regard to the flashing beacons? Did we also submit the
One up by
permit
Langs.
request for the one by Langs at the
Yes,
same time?
so that one's been done as well, and then there's gonna be a couple that we're installing along South Greeley Avenue. So,
We submit the permits for those too?
yeah, they're already approved, the
Right.
the foundations are already, they were installed as part of this project. But there is one by the corner of Langs going across the street to where Walgreens is.
Yeah, shouldn't it be, isn't it really the little store? Isn't that kind of a sign, either you're newer, it's Lang's, if you've been here a while, it's a little store? That's what I was always sort of told to me. Is that not a fair representation?
You know, it's
It's Lang's
Mr.
Little
Lang,
Store.
so
Yeah,
I
but
don't, I
is
just.
it little
you know.
store or Lang's? Some people call it, I mean, it's Lang's Little Store, but depends who you speak to. Some people go with little store, some people go with Lang's.
I don't know, I date back only to 1985, so.
Martin,
I
can
don't
you look
know.
into this?
Well, we had the perfect person here.
Mr. Williams, what do you call it?
Do you call it
Langs or Little
Lang's,
Store?
Lang's Little Store or the Little Store?
Both.
That is a very
What's that?
diplomatic answer right there.
If I'm going to the deli, it's Lang's, and it's remembering the candy store that I used to go to in 1938.
Oh.
It's the little store.
Wow.
Okay, so when you say.
I guess I have to say Lang's.
Yes. I'm gonna go with Lang.
So
Lang's
those
generation.
beacons, just to be good, so we have one going up by Lang's Little Store, and we also have one going up by the Shell Station. You said those are the two?
Yeah, and there's another one where the light was by the rec field. There's
Right,
gonna
right.
be a pedestrian beacon there as well.
Right, so we got three in Chappaqua and one in Millwood.
Yes,
Got it.
exactly right.
That's where the bump outs are too.
Right.
And they've actually been installing some bollards along those
No,
bump outs.
I got that in my report.
Parking permit renewals are due. Parking permit season's here. All parking permits expire on June 15th. Online registration is now open for the 2019-2020 parking season. I just renewed mine online today, easy as pie. You can visit the website at mynewcastle.org. There's actually a ribbon that goes across the top of the homepage, and just click in, and all the permit information is there. If you don't know your permit number, just click on name, look up, and it's really easy to find it. Con Ed is back in the area with storm hardening efforts. Tree trimming and tree removal are planned for work on DEP properties along the Meeting House Road Loop. As is this town board's policy, Con Ed will be attending next Tuesday's work session to present their plan to the town board of the area and extent of those storm hardening efforts. In addition, letters to neighboring properties are being sent this week. Okay. And just a quick cleanup recap from last week. Refuse and Recycling Unit of DPW has completed the collection of all the cleanup day bags, and we matched our last year's refuse collection totals of just under 2 tons of garbage. We gave out roughly 450 orange bags and 600 pairs of gloves. So kudos to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see what we got here. So we have should we do the landmark presentations first?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Sorry,
let's get it.
We're ready, Greg.
Goody, goody.
Sorry, Sabrina.
No worries.
Age before beauty.
Okay, we have two fine old houses on Barnes Road, out in the West End. It was laid out by your predecessors in 1808. This is the Barnes house. Actually, originally, it was a Washburn house, Morgan Washburn, built about 1830, and typical of a number of houses of the first half of the 19th century, when there was a spurt of building and greater prosperity in Newcastle. And it's typical of houses of that time, and it's changed almost not at all, at least in this part. There's an addition in the back. But this is an eyebrow house with, instead of a full second story, the frame was extended up a little bit. It's called an H-frame house. And you have these small windows on the second floor, which were a lot less expensive than putting in either dormers or a full second floor. It quickly went out of fashion. It didn't really let in much light. but it's rather picturesque, and we're lucky to have a few like it in town. As I say, it belonged to the Barnes family. It was called Barnes Road because they lived there up until the middle of the 20th century. The other one, which is built about the same time, but has been somewhat altered, can be traced back at least to 1808, when it's mentioned when they laid out the road. This was John Young's house. The Youngs owned a lot of property, on both sides of the border. John Young's father actually was originally a tenant on Phillipsburg Manor, but he also had a lot of land on this side of the border, and this house was probably built by John Young's about 1805 when he got married. It belonged to the Bailey family for much of the 19th century, who was called Old Ira by one of the later owners, because that was the last Bailey owner of the property. Then it belonged to Blanche Bates, who in her time was a very well-known actress. She originated the role in the Belasco play, The Girl of the Golden West, which Puccini later adapted into an opera. We know the opera now, but anyway, she was a big star in her time, and she modernized the house, as was often done. This probably had eyebrow windows, but they were been replaced by dormers on the second floor. She removed the, probably what was the veranda across the front, built a big side porch, and made it look like kind of what we think of as a modern house. It was about in 1905. But in fact, these were two houses, were neighbors, built about the same period, and a period of increasing prosperity in the town of Newcastle. And the Landmark Advisory Committee would like to recommend them be designated as Newcastle landmarks. Any questions? Silence is deafening.
Thank you. Right.
Can I just ask you a general question? So you don't have a problem designating them as landmarks when they've made so many changes to it?
It depends. It depends on whether we feel that its integrity is still there. In this case, even if it weren't older than what Blanche Bates did, that still qualifies more than 50 years. But in fact, it's a very old house. Yes, sometimes we just say, well, it looks so little like what it was that we won't bother.
What's the youngest house or the most recently built home that you have landmarked? Or we have
I'm
landmarked?
trying to think. One that you just landmarked was, I guess, pretty recent. It was built in 1913. 175 Bedford Road. It was built by a member of the family that lived across the way that were horticulturalists. It's a Lorentz house, but you just did that a couple of months ago. That's probably one of the most recent. But there are now coming up houses that are 50 or 60 years old, plus some that are right on the cusp that certainly are worth landmarking. For example, the Temple, which is probably our most important architectural building in town.
But that was they did an extensive renovation.
Yeah.
They recently did an extensive renovation, but.
But it didn't affect the sanctuary
No,
at all.
sanctuary-
They were very careful about that.
Right.
It really is a most outstanding building. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So, we didn't open the public
I was
hearing.
gonna say, right, you do need to open the public hearings on both properties, 9 Barnes and 28 Barnes Road. It was noticed as one hearing. The record contains the application materials and the consent of the two property owners.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does anybody have any public comments on these landmark designations? Okay, well, it's not on the agenda to do tonight. Should we leave the public hearing open for written comments?
Why, if it's for this?
Doesn't matter.
Do we need to?
It's the board's discretion, but you can certainly close it and then we can have it ready.
do.
for-
Yeah,
We usually close
this
it,
is
right? I understand, it's not on the agenda to do it anyway. Okay, so motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. So then we'll carry it over to the 28th, Christine? Sure.
To
For the
designate.
vote.
For the vote.
I think
Okay, thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, have a good night. And now the stormwater presentation.
Okay. Good evening. This is your yearly update on the town's Phase 2 Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Permit, finally known as the MS4 program. This year, we were very lucky to be audited by New York State DEC. They came in and they spent a day with town staff, department heads, went through our records and really dug into how well we are implementing the MS4 program. So we haven't heard back from the state on that audit yet, but I think we did very well when we went through that day of opening up our records, our record keeping, our activities in regards to construction. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is the program in its entirety. I'm going to start with a general explanation of the town's hydrology, the program, the different elements of the program, and then speak to you about how we measure up against each of the requirements of the MS4 permit. So just to give you a background, the town is located within 4 watershed basins. We have the Croton River Basin, the Lower Hudson River Basin, also known as the Pocantico or the Sawmill River Basin, the Bronx River Basin, and the Upper Long Island Sound Basin. This is a real quick map of the hydrology. The blue lines on the map are the water bodies. The darker blue line are the outlines of the watershed basins. The majority of the town's land area, excuse me, is within the Croton watershed and the Sawmill River Drainage Basin. Different areas of our community have different water quality concerns. For example, the Croton watershed, which is a majority of our community, is phosphorus restricted. There is actually a phosphorus total maximum daily load that exists that was issued by New York City DEP and endorsed by New York State DEC. So in that case, the city and the state work together to come up with a phosphorus limit that we need to try and adhere to or reduce our phosphorus to. The Upper Long Island Sound watershed is restricted by nitrogen. There are programs for the Long Island Sound watershed that really focus on the reduction of nitrogen, particularly when it comes to land uses, application of fertilizers on the ground. So there's different rules within the Long Island Sound watershed area as to what you can and cannot do. Right now, there are no TMDLs for nitrogen in the Long Island Sound watershed, so it's really just trying to get a handle on existing practices. We also have water bodies that are listed on 2 state lists. We have the State Priority Water Body List, and we have the New York State DEC 303D list. And these are different lists that the state promulgates. They're based off of notification to the state or assessments that are done by different organizations, groups, towns, or entities that are watching out for the water bodies. They'll submit data sheets to the state. The state will catalog all of the sheets and create these listings. We have different water bodies, particularly in the lower Hudson River Basin, that are listed for pathogens or metals or nutrients in the water bodies. We have separate water bodies like the Sawmill River, the Bronx River, that are listed. Different segments of that water body are on these lists, giving indications to New York DEC and anybody who is interested in those water bodies that there are problems. This also helps the communities who are in these areas of the watersheds receive monies under grant programs to try and clean these water bodies or improve the water quality within these water bodies. The Phase 2 stormwater program requirements, there are 6 minimum measures. The first 2, public education and outreach, and public participation and involvement, are really outreach and education programs and getting the community involved in educating about stormwater quality. The third program requirement is illicit discharge detection and elimination. This is a category that is very much regulated. All agencies regulate minimum measure 3. We regulate as a town minimum control measure 3. We also have construction site runoff control and post-construction runoff control, and this involves not necessarily town properties, but it involves development properties that are in the community. Post-construction runoff, some controls the town owns. So, we have sand filters, we have different practices throughout town properties. Other post-construction runoff controls relate to stormwater basins and things that are put in with subdivision approvals. The last category, pollution prevention and good housekeeping, is really an activity that occurs by the town, by the Department of Public Works, by the Parks and Recreation Department, and by my office, the Development Department. So I'm going to go through each one of these 6 minimum control measures and identify for you some of the activities that we're doing, how we track the activities that we perform, and what are some evaluation measures that we use to determine whether or not we're doing a good job. So when it comes to public outreach and education, we have a select list of target audiences. They range from the general public to actually town employees, to boards and commission members, to contractors and homeowners who come to the counter in the building department. So there's a whole range of people that we educate on a daily basis about stormwater issues, water quality matters, and land use impacts to water quality. The different topics that we discuss on a regular basis are on the right-hand side. They range from construction site management to illicit discharge detection, green infrastructure, better site design. These are the things that we talk about: pet waste management, recycling, protection of the stream bank. We have middle school students monitoring the brook right outside of Town Hall. That's all part of our public outreach and education program. Strategies. We do direct mailings in town. We have mailing lists, public events presentations, this presentation, any project that is discussed before the planning board, before the zoning board. We provide printed materials in town hall and in the library, and we go on daily inspections of construction projects or developments throughout town, and even when we get calls to go look at some trees or to examine wetland boundaries. That all works towards our public outreach and education. Materials are available in several different locations throughout town and on our website. Evaluating, measuring progress. So really, we keep track in my office of how many people come to our counter, what they're at our counter for. We look at the number of applications that the different boards are reviewing, the number of applications that come into the building department for construction projects. And we notice, since we started the program, that more projects than not are including better site design techniques in their application. So low impact design, alternative energy design. Folks come in with erosion and sediment control plans. We're not having to ask them to incorporate these techniques or incorporate the strategies. They're coming into our office already incorporated. And we know that our brochures and pamphlets are picked up just because we have to restock them. So the word is out there. People are looking at this as a best practice, as a normal practice during the course of the development process. It was just reported we hold a cleanup event every year. The 600 pairs of gloves, the 400 and something garbage bags that were collected, that is part of our public involvement strategy for improving water quality. We have a community hotline established through the building department where you can call if you notice that you have drainage issues or stormwater concerns. We have community meetings. Any board meeting that we have, one of the number one topics is stormwater, and usually the neighbors come out to talk about potential development projects and how it will affect their properties. Stormwater is probably the number one ranked subject that they're talking about. We have an annual report. This presentation, we post this on the website. There's an annual report that goes along with this presentation that we must submit to the New York State DEC. That will also be posted on the website. Evaluating, measuring progress. As I said, discussion of stormwater related issues, water quality issues is more frequent at our public meetings, during our public hearings. Participation continues. This is not something that's going to go away. We do a townwide mailing every year. Within that townwide mailing, we have a website questionnaire, a stormwater survey. It goes to most of our residents within the water all of our residents within the water district. We have stormwater education in that communication. When it comes to illicit discharge and detection, just to kind of give you a sense of what IDDE is, this is when you have a discharge that is other than water coming out of a pipe, usually coming out of a pipe that discharges to a stream or a water body. So a lot of times in the traditional sense, it could be a failing septic system. It could be a washing machine connected to the drainage system. The illicit discharges are noticeable. A lot of times you'll see suds in a stream or running down the street. That's typically an IDDE. So we mapped all of our outfalls. We had narrowed down our world of outfalls down to 23 key outfalls that all other outfalls went into. We screen them all every year. We're in the process right now of re-verifying our outfall mapping. We have 2 summer interns that will be walking the town roadways, looking at the outfalls, verifying them using handheld equipment, taking down more information about their condition. Building maintenance, commercial car washes, parking lots, what we call cross connections, where there's a combined washing machine with a drainage pipe, outdoor fluid storage, vehicle maintenance, repair shops, and septic maintenance are really the targets for IDDE. So we know, for example, if we're on an inspection regarding a gas station, we know to look for proper connections or not so proper connections, because they're known as targets for illicit connections. In total, this past reporting season, and it runs from March to March, there were 3 illicit discharges that were detected, and 9 out of 10 times they're usually picked up by the Department of Public Works when they're working out in the streets. We have resolved 2 of the IDDE discharges. One is still in process because it is located on Metro North property near the train tracks.
Do you find that it's usually intentional or accidental?
Accidental. Most of the times it is accidental. We don't have a lot of infrastructure, particularly in our residential neighborhoods. So you find more purposeful connections into a storm sewer system where you have a lot of infrastructure and not a lot of land.
So what's on Metro North property, is Metro North the offender?
Yeah. Well, we are the MS4. Metro North is the offender, and it's caught in that bureaucracy right
Does
now.
this slide mean that 3 out of 23 had illicit discharges, or does this mean that there were 3 illicit discharges out of sort of multiple
Out of
inspections
the
occurring across
24,
20?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
And I'm sorry to put us on a tangent, is there any culpability or responsibility other than cleaning or fixing and rectifying the issue that a landowner or whomever's doing this?
We can find them and bring them into the courts, issue them a violation, and then it goes through a court process to rectify. And there's fines associated with it. We haven't had to. A lot of we come up, the 3 is a lot for our town to have in 1 year. Typically it's 1 or 2. Many times it's a failing septic system that the property owner is in the process of repairing. They're very, once they're identified, they usually get cleaned up pretty quickly. The Metro North is a little bit difficult because you're dealing with a larger bureaucracy trying to, deal with it on the tracks. We can't go in and fix it. We have to work with that agency. So, and we're working with them to try and rectify the situation. We've completed our storm sewer shed mapping. We have wonderful geographic information system resources that identify our storm sewer system. We have, we train all of the key staff in the positions that need to understand IDDE and water quality and stormwater relationships. as I said, number of illicit discharges, because of the training, because of our familiarity with illicit discharges, and the fact that we're out in the field, particularly our Department of Public Works and our engineering staff, the illicit discharges have been reduced throughout the town. 3 were found this year, 2 were eliminated. When it comes to construction and post-construction control, we have what's called a stormwater pollution prevention plan requirement. We have that requirement, and it's usually related to any development project in the community. The developer or the homeowner must submit a SWIP as part of their building permit process. We have procedures in place where we review those SWIPs. We comment on the plans. We make sure that they're being implemented in accordance with DEC standards. We reviewed 10 stormwater pollution prevention plans throughout the reporting period, and we have a procedure where the public can comment on those stormwater pollution prevention plans. When it comes to construction site erosion control, we have 5 active construction projects which disturb 1 acre or more, and that's where we start triggering advanced stormwater pollution controls and erosion and sediment controls. All of the active construction sites are routinely inspected by the town. All inspectors use an approved plan which is consistent with New York State DEC standards, so we're following the DEC requirements. And the public has access to these SWIPs. They're not only put on the town's website, they're also available at each construction site for viewing. All construction projects submitted SWIPs, and the plans continue to show more consistency with New York State standards. And this is important because as the projects are being approved, particularly by the planning board, the measure of approval is really consistency with DEC standards. So many more of them are coming in meeting DEC standards, requiring less review or less intensive review by the town. Stormwater controls and BMPs continue to be the focus of project approval. So when an applicant comes before the planning board, we're always talking about what type of erosion and sediment controls are being put into place, what type of treatments are being used to capture stormwater. So they're part of the everyday lingo. So when it comes to post-construction stormwater management, we have 40 post-construction projects that were inspected during the reporting year. We have 110 catch basins throughout town that are inspected and maintained. We have, we're using geographic information systems to track the post-construction best management practices, their condition, what they're composed of. And we have different laws and measures within our town code to ensure the maintenance and implementation of post-construction stormwater controls.
For how long after the construction ends do you typically need to continue to monitor the?
We put the requirement on the homeowners associations or the developers. They are required to maintain on a yearly basis. They are required to continue to maintain during the life of the project and repair, when necessary, any stormwater control. It's part of their approved project.
So that 40 is work that was done by developers and homeowners as opposed to just being completed by the town?
Correct. The town itself has 2 stormwater management practices, which I will talk to in a little bit. But all of this is being done by people throughout the community who have developed property.
Is there a minimum length of time, or it's just up to the developer or homeowner?
It's in perpetuity.
Perpetuity.
It's in perpetuity. The idea behind the post-construction stormwater management practices are that they are controlling stormwater, both quantity and quality, for that project. So if you cannot take them away, otherwise there will be drainage and water quality problems. So they are required to maintain them in perpetuity. They're part of that project. So when it comes to, there's another side of post-construction stormwater control, and that relates to phosphorus reduction in specific programs regarding stormwater retrofit projects. The town of Newcastle is a member of CEQIC, the Croton-Kensico Watershed Intermunicipal Coalition. We have joined with the other communities in the Croton watershed, as well as in Putnam County and a couple municipalities in Dutchess County who have land area within the East of Hudson watershed. We are undertaking what's called umbrella compliance, meaning we are all working together and we are sharing our projects. We have currently 5 projects that are identified within the town of Newcastle. As umbrella compliance, we have a 525 kilogram per year per 5-year period per 5-year period to reduce phosphorus within the East of Hudson watershed. During year 1 through 5, we had a reduction of 534.33 kilograms of phosphorus per year. We are now in year 8 of the year 6 through 10 program. It's 2 5-year permits. We are looking at a reduction of 524.72 kilograms per year, on top of the 534.33 kilograms per year. And this means there are projects in every municipality that has that is part of the umbrella compliance, and we share in the obligation to maintain those projects. And then we are actually seeing implementation of 5 projects in our municipality, which we will maintain and we will obtain credit for maintaining as part of the umbrella compliance. When it comes to municipal operations, as I said before, this is really minimum measure control 6. This is good housekeeping. We have, we do any operation usually through the Department of Public Works and the Parks and Recreation Department when we sweep the streets, when we clean the catch basins, when we mow the grass, when we use leaf blowers. All of that is done in accordance with water quality, with stormwater management in mind. And this is a list of all of the things that we work to do and recognition that they do impact water quality. When it comes to what we have done during the reporting period, we have swept 13 acres of parking lots. We've swept 101 miles of streets. We've inspected and cleaned 110 catch basins. We've inspected and cleaned post-construction control practices. There was 2,400 pounds of nitrogen applied in fertilizer in the past reporting year. We have 100% of our municipal employees who do this work. They're trained to do this work and trained in accordance with water quality in mind. We know that we have specific reporting procedures for the municipal departments for the good housekeeping practices. We continually review the reporting procedures and the conversations that we have in town hall about our practices, our municipal operations, and we're working to retrofit our record keeping and reporting processes to make them more efficient. We are also looking at verification of our infrastructure. As I said before, we're looking at, you approved the hiring of 2 interns in my office to actually go out and verify our outfalls. We are looking at using, handheld cell phones that have access to apps that will help us update our GIS data layers by on-site inspection. So the technology, we're really implementing it and using it to help us meet our program obligations. So just to give you a sense of additional improvement strategies, we have specific education regarding phosphorus. 100% of our conveyance system has been mapped. We are looking at additional features and verification of those features. We have a stormwater conveyance system inspection and maintenance plan in place, and we will be expanding that. We have a program to track on-site wastewater treatment systems, which have been inspected and maintained, and that's coordinating with the Westchester County Department of Health. We have post-construction programs in place, and we are in the second 5-year permit cycle, years 6 through 10, and we're always looking for projects. And that's it. For more information, you can contact my office at 238-4723, and you can visit our website.
You know, it occurred to me during the presentation that this is gonna be my
I knew you were gonna say that.
my last
I
one,
knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say
and
that.
I'm gonna try not to get emotional.
You know you're going to come back and sit in the audience.
But, I've really enjoyed
Watch those
these.
illicit discharges.
Let's have a little quiz.
So
I-
you
I-
just, you just
is there
have
a
to
test?
sign the report before you leave tonight.
We do? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Have a good night.
Same time, same place tomorrow?
Anytime.
Okay. All right, so we have some continuation of public hearings. The modification of the vape law to include recreational marijuana sales. We need a motion to reopen the public
So
hearing.
move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any public, Nick, you want to give us a little summary?
Certainly, so this local law would extend the vape local law, which provides banning of certain stores selling vape, and in this case recreational marijuana, from being within a certain linear distance, 2,000 linear feet, of certain protected areas, schools, churches, and the like. And so this is just adding the definition of marijuana, marijuana-infused products, and extending that law so that the same protection that is given, or same restrictions that apply to vape shops would apply to marijuana retail stores, which is a defined term. The planning board had provided a review memorandum and made certain suggestions to the town board that you discussed at your workshop. There was also a question raised as to how this restriction would apply in other areas of the town where retail would be permitted, such as Chappaqua Crossing, and a memo was provided to the board explaining that the 2,000-foot linear distance would apply to the school district, and the retail uses are not permitted in the OBR 20 unless there is an overlay district granted, and that retail overlay district is within the 2,000-foot separating distance. So as presently zoned, Chappaqua Crossing would not be an area where this would be permitted, but there are other areas in town where it would be permitted, I believe, but again, 2,000 linear foot separation. And so the town has now complied, you've held a public hearing, you've prepared the law and received comments back from both the county and the town planning board. If there is no public comments, you're in a position to close the public hearing should you wish to do so.
Any public comments? So should we entertain a motion to close the public hearing? We've had it open for a while. All in favor?
Aye.
Someone to second it?
Oh,
Oh,
second.
second. You second it, please?
Yes, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so,
Small cell?
small cell, we need a motion to open a public hearing on a continuation, I'm sorry, the small cell wireless telecommunication draft legislation.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So this is yet another exciting discussion on small cells local law. I'm going to suggest that we can defer the continuing exciting discussion because the planning department is working on guidelines that they're going to be reviewing with the planning board. Those have not yet been fully reviewed. So the suggestion would be,
The 21st. So actually, we're going to have a joint meeting with the planning board on the 21st. Sabrina circulated to the town board the guidelines. We thought it was most efficient for the planning board and the town board to sit down together with Sabrina, discuss the guidelines next week, and then we will carry this public hearing over to the 28th.
Okey dokes.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Mike.
I was just curious,
Mike.
what a, Mike Weinberg from Chappaqua, what a small cell tower is, as opposed to is it just
Right,
regular
so-
size?
it's also really defined by a small cell antenna as a series of antennas that are smaller in size, but they also have less frequency communication, so they tend to be sited closer together. So they're typically used in downtown areas. They have a transmitting distance of 500 to 1,000 feet, so they serve a different purpose than the largest of the large cell towers that you hear about. And they're also being used and phased in eventually to be for the 5G technology.
Right, it's the future, it's where it's going, and we want to be in front of it, and we have to be in front of it because it's coming from well above us.
Yes, the FCC regulations prescribe and give certain advantages to these applications that they be processed on an expedited basis. It also limits the municipalities to only regulating areas of aesthetics. So they do need to be allowed to be somewhere, and it's difficult to deny them, and you can have certain stealthing technology required, and that's what this law goes into. And what the planning board and Sabrina have worked on is coming up with guidelines to establish it. In essence, the large towers are used to send the information over larger distances, and then they get offloaded to the small cell towers where there's a lot of hotspots or a lot of concentrated use that large towers can't provide for. So you would expect to see them in downtown areas, train stations.
Tower's not the right term.
And typically
Right, could not be
co-located on like
A street light, a utility
It's
pole,
like a hat
side
for
of the
a pole.
Yeah,
building.
don't look at it as a tower, tower's the wrong term. I think
Thank
one
you.
of the previous presentations, we had pictures of
Yes.
really exciting.
It goes on
pictures.
top of other
Yeah.
poles.
Typically, they get attached to utility poles.
Thank you.
So that's important though, because we hate for people to think that we're gonna
Yeah,
start
not
putting
towers.
cell towers,
Not
even
towers.
small ones in our downtown. Okay.
Could be a motion to adjourn to May 28th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. By the way, back to the marijuana thing. So are we gonna vote on it on the 28th? That's our next meeting, I guess? Just my,
Yes.
makes sense, okay. All right, so now we have set some public hearings. First one is for leaf blower legislation.
Is it in our packet? Yeah, it is, right?
You guys know if you, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the resolution.
It's in our,
So we'll just go right into the,
Yeah.
let's see if we have any public comment, new business, before we go into our resolutions.
he's ready to run for it.
Doesn't
Dude,
look
you gave him so much time, he was daydreaming.
So we have 3 seconds, unless anybody's at the mic, then we'll just say we don't. It's 2,
No, it's
1.
okay.
Sorry.
I just,
Are you gonna miss this as much as you missed the stormwater presentation?
well, are you gonna miss them as much as Con Ed? The problem with Con Ed, of course, is that they can't keep the power on. And they're, as was in your announcements today, they are gonna be cutting trees. What I'd like to ask the board to do is to work very hard to make sure that they do their job to provide power without giving a hard time to the town board and the rest of the town to maintain their own wires, whether they're buried underground under Greeley Avenue or whether they're up in the air. The fact of the matter is, these people have not been managing the process well. I've been going into a situation, I'm like, I a hearing for the generator that I am forced to put in because Con Ed cannot keep the power on. So that's what I wanted to talk about. It's a burden on the community, and please, anything that we can do to make sure that they do their job is appreciated. I do not trust them to do their job properly. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay.
I move to authorize the hiring, oh, we're there yet, where are we? I move to authorize the hiring of Jacob O'Donovan in the position of temporary summer help within the water unit of the Department of Public Works. The position would be for 37.5 hours for a period of 10 weeks at the rate of $14 per hour with an effective date of May 20th of this fabulous year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to authorize the hiring of Michael Palmesi in the position of temporary summer help within the water unit of the Department of Public Works. The position would be for 37.5 hours for a period of 10 weeks at a rate of $12 per hour. Is that intentionally different? 12 to 14? With effective date of May 30, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move to authorize the hiring of Seth Jordan Kessler as an intern in the engineering department with an effective date of June 3rd, 2019 at a rate of $1,500. Flat rate.
Second.
All in favor? I don't know if we've
Aye.
done it,
Aye.
but it was a premature
And
second.
I move to authorize the hiring of Courtney Spaeth as an intern in the court office with an effective date of May 20, 2019 at a rate of $1,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Jeremy Goldstein as a student experience intern to the Rec and Parks Department with an effective date of May 13th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the promotion of Angel DeSantis from the position of laborer within the Department of Public Works to the position of motor equipment operator, staying within the Department of Public Works at an annual salary of $69,250.32, Group 7, Step 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the hiring of Nicole Ciano as a summer intern at the Millwood Water Treatment Plant with an effective date of June 3rd, 2019 through July 29th, 2019 at the rate of $12 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the creation of a position of seasonal community service worker and animal warden at an hourly rate of $20 an hour for 35 hours per week. The appointment date will be approximately June 10th, 2019 through September 27th, 2019, and will replace the position of part-time animal warden parking enforcement officer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to set a public hearing with regard to the proposed local law regarding leaf blowing for June 11th of 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to authorize the ELQ change order number 21, redesign of sidewalk in North Greeley in the amount of $3,025.52. Change order number 22, handrail upcharge to Black Power Coat in the amount of $3,726. Number 23, the bracket mounting assemblies and ground-mounted sign overrun in the amount of $4,749. And change order number 24, additional survey work from January through April in the amount of $26,401.80 for the total amount across all of those change orders of $38,702.34.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to set a public hearing with regard to an extension of downtown zoning moratorium for May 28th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to approve the payment of claims amount of $4,396,593.48 listed in the summary pre-check writing report and detailed voucher detail report, each prepared on May 14, 2019. Checks will be issued and mailed to each claimant issued on Wednesday, May 15th, 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to accept the bid from Suburban Carting Corporation for solid waste services for buildings owned by the town of Newcastle. And includes pickup of commercial districts located at Allen Place and South Greeley Avenue, an annual rate of $63,960. The contract is for 1 year, beginning July 1st, 2019, and terminates June 30th, 2020, with an option of two, that means distinct two, 1-year extensions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to accept a proposal from Atlantic Westchester for HVAC system maintenance and inspection for town-owned buildings in the amount of $10,070 annually for a 3-year period with an option of two 1-year extensions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to release a street opening permit bond number 2018-0005 to 58A JVD Industries Limited in Mount Vernon for work performed at 66 Roaringbrook Road in the amount of $750. Said work has been completed to the town's satisfaction.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I move to authorize accepting funding from the New York State Transportation within the CHIPS program and PAVE New York program. The CHIPS funds for the town of Newcastle for the state fiscal year 2019 to 2020 is in the amount of $222,678.93. PAVE New York funding for this period is in the amount of $50,826.68 for a total of $273,507.61. New York State DOT did not appropriate extreme weather recovery funds for the state fiscal year. Last year, the town received $315,980.
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I just think the,
I move to establish a capital project for the town hall fire escape installation with the project number listed herein for the total project budget of $35,000.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to accept a proposal from WBE Fence in the amount of $3,968 to install a split rail fence around the Mannheimer Garden at Gedney Park. This project is funded through donations received from the Mannheimer family.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to authorize $15,000 annual stipend for Rob Deary for his additional duties and responsibilities as the deputy town administrator, payable in 12 monthly installments of $1,250, effective May 2019.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve the attendance of the assessor and real property appraiser at the Cornell Seminar on Appraising. The total cost for both to attend not to exceed $3,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're already filling this in before we did it.
Wow, and they knew
Wow.
exactly what
How'd you pull that off?
Yeah.
You guys
That is really impressive that that was
know.
coordinated right. In fact, that's frightening. I move I move to accept, that's supposed to be out of whack, accept the following monthly reports for April 2019, town clerk, court clerk, development department, and receiver of taxes.
Second.
I think the second was not you, Lisa.
That to be changed.
Change it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Do we have one more for the rec field fence? It's the fence for the rec field?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the Manheim one?
Yeah, the Manheim, there's supposed to be two of them. One of them is Manheim, and that's what this one is, not a problem. And the rec fence, is they ready to, they just need the board's approval to be able to put that up.
6 foot high.
That'll look nice.
Which one is this for?
Yeah, what is this?
It's
The rec
the
field.
fence along the rec field.
A
To replace
6 foot
it?
high chain link
We already took it out,
fence.
now it's
Yeah.
orange.
Um,
Now we're gonna use it for the,
How much is it? What's the company?
so, it is from WBE at the total cost of $9,250.
So moved.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we're installing that, Tom?
Yeah, for the,
And
yes. Originally with the project, we had the hard fence, like the one that's across the street from the, by the library. But Ike determined that if someone's running for a foul ball, that
would
doesn't
hurt.
give it all, not good.
Yeah.
So we decided to go with the chain link, which is what we had there originally, and they just needed to install it. So they're ready to go with it, they just needed the approval from the board. So that'll be up shortly. Thank you.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.